our fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The OUTA Hour, where your voice matters.
Okay, let's try that again. Second time lucky. Good evening to you from myself, Tom London. We had some technical problems on the previous broadcast, so if you're joining us now for the second time, thank you very much for hitting that play button twice tonight. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the OUTA Hour. We'll find out who the Chief Whip is in just a moment. And we'll be chatting to Advocate Stefani Fick and Dr. Ferial Adam tonight. Boy, I can't tell you the technical difficulties we had trying to get the show on it. Every device stopped working. But now it seems to be under control, and there you are on the other side of the screen. Thank you for joining me. I did have something I wanted to show you, by the way, and we'll get to your comments in just a moment. Drop them in the comment section below the video. We'll find out who our Chief Whip is. We'll also be looking for your comments and questions throughout the show. Get ready for another 60 minutes of the OUTA Hour. Now, OUTA were out protesting a week or so ago on your behalf, and the OUTA camera crew and TV team went along to get the footage. Here's what happened. All that. There we go. That's the video of OUTA protesting. Those protests linked to the death of Babita Deokaran. We will not forget the role, the valuable role that whistleblowers play in our society. Right. Here we are. We're back on, and I hope you're joining us again. As you are, just drop a hello. If you did it on the last broadcast, do it again now, because I didn't get to see it. So just say, how's it? Tell me where you're watching from. Our regular viewers, we know you by name, but if you're a first-time viewer, say hello in the comment section and let's get to know each other. Samantha van Nispen, the head of marketing and comms at OUTA, is taking care of your comments in the Facebook page. And Devaney Davids, the show's producer, will be looking after you in the YouTube feed. Say hello to them. And say hello to each other. The point of the comment section is to engage with each other. So who's our Chief Whip tonight? Now, I must say that I saw who the Chief Whip was on the last broadcast, and we didn't get to award the status of Chief Whip to Judy van Gilswyk. And on this one, Claire Feldman has come in first. So I think we're going to go two Chief Whips tonight, Judy van Gilswyk and Claire Feldman. You are 1, 2, our Chief Whips on the OUTA Hour. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at some of the comments that we've got. Claire Feldman says, back again. Thank you, Claire. Jeff P. Scott, good evening, Outarians. Anita Whale is still here. Thank you, and thanks for coming back and pressing the play button on a night where the gremlins have crept into everything. Peter Webb says, good evening, everyone. Looking forward to an interesting discussions. We'll get those discussions on the go in just a moment. Vijayant Govender, hello from Alberton. Hey, nice to have Alberton represented tonight. Alex Helshope says, how's it, OUTA? Hello, Alex. Good to see you on the screen. Jeanette Longman from a beautiful part of the country, Betty's Bay. Hello, Jeanette, or Janet. Good to have you with us. Morag Swanepoel says, greetings. Morag from Cove Rock, East London, another beautiful part of South Africa. We really do have a beautiful country, don't we? Ernst Khan from just down the road in Craighall Park. Hello, Ernst. Good to have you. Or Ernest Khan, nice to see you again. Nomsa Dayele says, hello, everyone. Hello, Nomsa. Nice to see you on the screen again. And Janette Longman says, thank you. I often listen in. Well, nice to see your name on the screen tonight. And Bronwyn Heath is joining us from Durban. I'll pop more hellos on the screen as we go through the show. Now, I did say that tonight we will be chatting, or you saw on the opening slide, we'll be chatting about water quality and OUTA's Water Can project with Dr. Ferial Adams. As Jaya Chetty says, greetings from Durbs. Hello, Jaya. Nice to have you on board with us tonight. And we'll pop more hellos as they come in. But let's start focusing on water, shall we? And then Advocate Stefanie Fick is going to join us to give us an update on OUTA's cases. As you know, OUTA has a number of cases in court and in play. So what's the latest? What's the status of OUTA's legal cases? Well, the head advocate at OUTA, people say South Africa's favorite advocate. There she is on screen now, you see. Advocate Stefanie Fick will be updating us on the latest cases that are on the OUTA legal desk. Jeanette Pace has joined us. Hello, Jeanette. Good to see you on screen, and thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and share this broadcast if you haven't yet, and we will get it out to more and more people. Okay, shall we say hello to Dr. Ferial Adam and start this discussion around water and water quality? You know, just the other day, I go on a walk once in the morning, once in the evening, and every day I pass over, walk over this bridge, and there's a river that's always flowing underneath it, and it's a really, it should be a pretty sight except for the plastic packets and the water bottles and all the rubbish you see lying on the banks of the river. If not for that, it would be beautiful. And then the other day I walked past and it smelled like a sewage farm. It just, from 20, 30 meters away, you could smell there was a problem with the river. And it made me think about Dr. Adam again, made me think about OUTA's water project and why it's so important. But let's ask Ferial why it's so important to deal with water in this way and why OUTA is focusing on water. Hello, Ferial. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for having me on the talk on OUTA Hour.
It's good to see you, and I'm glad that everything's working. We can see you and we can hear you. Ferial, let's talk water for a second. Why the emphasis on water? There's so many issues. As you know, you wake up as an average South African, there are 100 issues staring you in the face on a daily basis. But what is it about water that makes it so important?
I think the first thing is that water, the whole kind of saying water is life is real. And I think if we think about load shedding, we can get without power for, some hours. But imagine if you don't have water. It becomes a whole different story. And the challenge we're seeing, and that's why Water Can was established, was that with all the kind of climate change, with pollution, with infrastructure failure, with corruption, with all of that, we are strangling our little bit of water that we have in this country. And that is why we need to focus on water so that we can protect it for the future.
What are your specific concerns, Ferial? Where do you think the problem areas lie? And I say think because you are asking for South Africans and OUTA supporters to get involved in this, but what do you suspect at the moment? And I know your head is buried in reports and research a lot of the time, but what is that showing?
Look, I think a lot of it is showing that our water status, our water resources in a really, really bad state. If we look at firstly, you don't just look at water. You can't just look at a river as the water in it, but you also have to look at the ecosystem that goes with it, the plants, the animals, the fish. And there's almost 60% of our river ecosystems are threatened. And they're threatened from things like pollution. And pollution is not only from government, it's also from industry. But I think we can try to fix what is happening at a government level in terms of sewage leakages into our rivers and canals, and that is a big challenge at the moment.
Christine Finnis has popped a comment up on screen, and we're looking for your comments and questions. If you've got a question for Dr. Ferial Adam, pop it in the comment section down below. I'll put it to her. And any comments you may have when it comes to water quality or water issues, I'd like to hear from you tonight on the OUTA Hour. Write your comments in the comment section down below this video. We'll pop them up on screen. Christine Finnis says, water is a finite, vital resource. It is the most precious resource. I was watching, I'm one of these people that can just go down rabbit holes with YouTube videos, and I was watching a YouTube video yesterday where it was talking about the amount of water on planet Earth, and then how much of that water was available to human beings, and then how much was actually fit for consumption. It was a minute figure. It was like 0.3% of the world's water is actually available for, potable water, and running out fast. Projections are that by 2050, many people in the world, and I think it's close to 750 million people at the moment on planet Earth, do not have access to decent quality water. And the situation, unless we fix it as a globe, as citizens of planet Earth, is going to become a crisis for everyone. What makes South Africa different when it comes to this precious resource?
So South Africa is naturally, if we take geographically, we are a water scarce country. So the rainfall that we experience as a country as an average is less than the global average. It's almost half of the global average. So we're really in a zone or an area that doesn't get a lot of rainfall. And so we need to protect the water that we do have. That's the one issue. The other issue, Tom, is that the water that we do have has been allocated for use. So agriculture gets some, mining gets some, residential gets some, industry gets some. We have allocated, and I say we, the Department of Water and Sanitation, 98% of our water is allocated. Now, if you have a drought, and with climate change, we're going to have more extreme droughts, we're going to have more extreme weather events, we're playing around with the 2%, that you can't have more development, you can't have more economic growth, you can't do any kind of building or development, whether it's housing or shops or whatever, entrepreneurs, because we don't have the water to feed into that. So that, and the little water that we do have, we are polluting completely. I just have to give you one stat, if I may.
Please.
There's about 50,000 liters of sewage that flows into our rivers every second. Just cycle.
And that's what largely down to mismanagement and corruption and badly managed wastewater treatment plants.
It's all of that. It's a lack of skills. It is definitely around mismanagement. It's a lack of skills, and I think those are and failing infrastructure. Infrastructure has to be maintained, and we've failed in our maintenance of the infrastructure. So countrywide, our systems are failing. And so we need to act really fast in order to protect our water.
I was taking a look. There's a comment from Olivia Hossel who says, I agree, we need our water, but as there is not enough money to fix the pipes, and if that's the situation, then we've got a problem. Is it all down to budgets at the end of the day?
No, I think that it's partly, but I think not all due to budgets. I also think it's the slow action and inaction of some of the municipalities. So, for example, let's just take Nelson Mandela Bay. They are heading for day zero, and they should be having, they have all the warnings in place. The gift of the givers have gone and dropped boreholes, etc. But this issue was not something that just was yesterday. We knew about it when Cape Town was going through a day zero. We already knew the projections was that
we've seen it before.
The Eastern Cape is going to head to a day zero. We did nothing. Till today, even if it was 2 years ago, they could have dealt with the leaks in the pipes. It's estimated. If you search on Google, the figure that you get is something like 37% of our water is being lost through leakages. I can guarantee you we are sitting around 50%. because that 37% is about 10 years old. And we have not had an assessment. Government has not done a no-drop report, which looks at the leakages much more in depth in 10 years.
Well,
so we're losing water through leakages, which can be easily fixed.
Well, Madeline Gertsch agrees with you, because Madeline says in the last week she spotted 5 to 6 new water leaks with massive liters being lost in her area, and no one comes to fix. So our viewers are picking up on what you're saying and agreeing with almost every point. When did OUTA start thinking of this project called WaterCan? Just to take us back to the beginning. What was the seed that was planted, and how did it germinate?
So, the truth is, OUTA has been working on water for a long time, water and environment. It's not a new portfolio within OUTA. But we've looked at the gravity of the issue, and we've decided that we have to have a complete focus on water and environment. And that's how WaterCan came about. We were thinking that, this is an urgent problem, and we need to secure our water resources for the future. And the good thing also is the way we've been thinking about it is that it's not just about complaining about the problem. We're also trying to find solutions. And so one of the solutions we're proposing is to build a network of citizen science activists. So people need to watch and become water guardians and stewards. That's what has been our vision for this project.
Can anyone become a WaterCan activist?
Yes, I think that's the whole idea of citizen science, right? Is that you don't need to be a qualified scientist, is that people can use certain methods that allows them to monitor and become guardians of the water. So anyone can.
What is WaterCan planning?
Next week, so we're launching our big WaterCan project next week from the 14th to the 18th. And, we did a survey a couple of months ago, which ask the question, do you trust the water that comes out of your tap, or do you trust the water that you drink? And we had a, incredible response, and many of the people were like, no, we don't. And so what this is, the 14th to the 18th, is we are starting people, citizen science activists, test their tap water, their water resources like rivers, streams, they can choose, and to upload that data to a so that we can then have a look at what's going on countrywide in terms of the water that's out there. We're using indicator tests. It's not a test that can be used in a court of law, but we're saying that if there's something wrong, we then have to look at how to get that water tested properly by an accredited laboratory. And that's from the 14th to the 18th. We have worked with a laboratory, iLab in the Free State. We have a water kit that does at least 10 parameters, including E. coli, and they test for all of these things. That we've been able to purchase 50 of those kits, and we've sent that out to organizations who will be testing water in that period, including people like the South African Water Caucus, Canoeing South Africa, and Hennep's Revival. There's a whole lot of Adopt a River across the country. Milnerton Residents Association will all be doing testing during that period.
And if I wanted to get involved, Ferial, what should I do? I mean, I keep, I bang on about walking over that river in my area every day, and I worry about the quality of the tap water in my home. And let's say, there's someone watching who feels the way I do. They've got a stream nearby, or they live near a wetlands, and they're keen on the quality of the water around them in their environment, but also their drinking water and their water into their home. Can people like us also get involved?
So definitely. I mean, I think the thing about this is it's been such a phenomenal response to our call for people to test water. Not only do we have the 50 tests with 10 parameters, we also have a sample kit that tests about 6 parameters that's relevant to our drinking water. So you have an E. coli plate, and you have a strip that tests 6 parameters. We're calling it a sample kit, but it's not the full thing. And we had 100 of those, and we had a call on social media, and many people have been in touch with us. At this point, many of that has been allocated. We don't have more kits in terms of that, but we are saying that it doesn't only have to be the test kits that gives us an indication of our water.
Okay.
We have an environmental form that we will be sharing. It's the observation of, does the water smell? What does the water look like? All of those, what does it taste like? All of those things, there's a form that we will be sending out, and we want people to join in. Tell us if your water's fine, then it's great, then we know it's good. But if there are areas where you have no water, or your water seems funny, let us know. That's what we're doing, Tom. So I think everyone can look towards their water next week. Even if you don't have the form at the time, if you want to take a photograph, share it with us online. And we can, we'll build up this whole thing with the campaign.
Where should we go to if we want to get involved?
Well, you can email info@watercan.org.za.
And then the address that we've been given, watercan.org.za/about us, will that take us to the website where we can find out more details and go from there?
Yes, that will take you to the website. There are 2 videos on the website. One will give you a good explanation on what we're about, why we've been established. And the second one is the testing that we'll be doing and how to go about doing the testing. So even if you don't have a kit, you can purchase the kit from ilab.co.za. That's the laboratory that we've engaged with, and they're the ones that will be selling it. We don't sell it. They can go directly to the laboratories and purchase a water testing kit.
Let's go to the comments section and see what people are saying about this issue. Ferial, Liz McDade, one of our favorites on the OUTA Hour. Liz says climate change will give us more floods, more droughts, and we need to conserve what we have. And don't we need to start reusing our water, becoming more conscious about our water use, I guess. And that's something we haven't even touched on, is climate change and what climate change means for water availability in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it's going to impact both in terms of floods, as Liz has mentioned, as well as droughts. And it's not just, we need to look at our food and our water and our energy very closely to each other. So one will impact the other. And if you just think about the fact that you have no water and no food, and then you're going through a drought, the kind of dilemma we will have, or the urgency we'll have in that situation. And that is why we have to try and protect. And Liz is correct. It's not just, we saying we need to test the quality of our water, drinking water. But there are things about we need to save. And let's be honest, as South Africans, we're very wasteful until that day when there's load shedding or water shedding or day zero. We need to be the change we want to see. And that's, I think that I had a talk at University of Pretoria last week, and I said to the students, how many people open the cold water or the hot water and wait for the hot water to come with all the water just flowing away? They don't collect it. That's liters and liters of water that we waste. So we have to also take responsibility.
Yeah, it all starts at home, doesn't it? Bronwyn Heath says it's a whole combination of bad things: corruption, incompetence, overpopulation. And I don't know whether it's Janet or Janet, so forgive me if I'm... I'll go Janet Janet. How's that? Says, could someone please persuade the Overstrand municipality not to pass building plans on wetland plots in the area? What does someone like Janet Janet do, Ferial, in that case?
So... that's one of our challenges in the Western Cape. I just have to say, Overstrand and in the city of Cape Town as well, that there seems to be this position where there's a lot of development on wetlands, and it is a problem. But we need people at a local level to monitor those and actually object to the environmental impact assessment. You can't build on a wetland without an environmental impact assessment being done. And so we need people to object, to get those EIAs and to vehemently object to those developments and to go to those meetings and make sure that they're being heard. That is one way, and that is the way that we need to. We also need to expose that there's just too many developments on wetlands in the Western Cape. I can't understand what is the position. But we have had 3 different areas, people saying that they've got, that developers have got the go-ahead to build on wetlands, 3 different wetlands in the Western Cape. And now I'm hearing of the 4th one, which is Overstrand.
Ties into Tyron Sykes' comment. Tyron says, I think both SOEs and the private sector are guilty of cutting corners, dumping waste directly into our natural systems. It's too easy to pay an official to look the other way, says Tyron. Which is sad.
And they don't even have to pay an official because the enforcement is extremely poor. I think we've had a new minister and a new DG, and there seems to be some movement. Before that, we had the worst ministers ever. But there's not enough enforcement. And I think people's voices, active citizens need to be heard to say, we know that this is happening. Those people need to be arrested. And so that's something that we need more of. It's not just private sector. It's not just government. It's also the private sector. I don't know if people have read this, but SASL is going to court. The National Department of Water and Sanitation is taking SASL to court on the 20th of September because SASL knowingly spewed out substances into the Vaal River which are highly poisonous as well as cancer-causing substances. For 5 years, they were told that they needed to change a valve, but they did not do it. So they willingly and knowingly polluted the Vaal River. And we already know that the Vaal is being polluted by sewage. So, no one's being held accountable. And I think this is a great start where the National Department of Water and Sanitation is finally taking people to court. What we want to see is the National Department of Water and Sanitation taking municipal managers to court where they are polluting.
Let's wrap up with some of the comments that have come in from you as you watch the show as we chat about water and the Water Can project. Magaroo says, I've been boiling tap water in Johannesburg for years. I wouldn't touch it otherwise. Olivia Hussel says, we agree. Cape Town's water was unhealthy to drink. This never happened before. It's all about money that's not available in our country. Christine Finnish says, the water issue should be addressed at junior school level through education. Would you agree with that, Ferial?
I think the youth are we have to have, when we were young, I think that we had a whole range of education awareness at the young level that permeates forever, like stranger danger or, environmental issues or zap it in the Zibby can. I'm showing my age, right? But those campaigns worked. I mean, I still remember them. I'm still mindful of not throwing paper on the side of the, just out like that. I don't litter. But that's what we need. And it's very possible. In some of the sessions I had with other groups doing citizen science, they're taking it to schools. And not only will these young people be learning about the environment, but they're also finding out about careers in science and making them excited about science, which is fantastic. We need that.
Well, go to the website, watercan.org.za/about us for more details. And the last couple of comments that we got coming in, Claire Feldman, consistency is key. One cannot expect infrastructure to run perfectly when there's no maintenance being done. Terry Lee Hoyer says, Ugu municipality has been a problem for years. There's just so much dissatisfaction when it comes to water and water quality and delivery in this country. Peter Webb wants to know what's happened to the raw sewage that has been flown into the Vaal River. At one stage, the Cubans were sent in to repair and replace pipes, but obviously their efforts didn't work, and now we sit with the problem of sewage in the Vaal River once again. I was reading some reports in the news media this weekend about water quality in the Vaal Dam, a place that many people love to sail boats on and should be a wonderful recreational area as well as a water source for Gauteng, that the water quality has gone to pot there as well. It's just it's very disheartening, and I suppose, and here's one from Janet Longman saying, we are a group already working on this, but we're going nowhere slowly. And I suppose a lot of people feeling the frustration, Ferial, when they're passionate about this, but nothing's happening.
But no, I think that there are things happening. And I think and this is why Water Can is important. We're trying to bring all these different groups together to understand that you're not alone. You might be fighting your fight at a local level, but there are other people, there are other, there's like hundreds of groups that are doing it at a local level. We need to connect because together we are seeing some change. It's not enough to say to us that defeat us where, oh, well, the municipalities are doing this and they're going to continue. No, actually they won't. If we start at a community level, organize around that and say, we are going to lay criminal charges against the municipal manager for the pollution. Let me just say that in the Vaal, and that's why we have to act with urgency. We have to get off and we have to act as if our life depends on it in terms of protecting our water.
Yeah.
Because the Vaal is so polluted, it's going to take a much longer time to fix. But they're on their road to fix it. But you have to watch the SASL and you have to watch the municipality. And there are people doing that. They have set up a Section 63 committee, which is according to Water Act. And on that, they have some very good activists that are completely holding them accountable and holding them to deliver, on terms of all of that. They've also got Rand Water, which is now running the treatment plant in Empereni and not Empereni, the municipality itself. So it's taken away the control of the municipality. And we can do that. Some of our water boards actually have a good reputation and they have worked. So we need to just continue making sure that they keep on and that we as citizens make our voices louder. Don't sit back and say, this is what's going to happen. No, we need to make our voices louder.
Well, join the WaterCan team by going to that address, watercan.org.za/about us. Find out more about the project, become part of this OUTA initiative with Dr. Ferial Adam and team. And I think that's where we'll leave the water discussion this evening and get on to the second half of the show. Thank you, Ferial. You're welcome to stick around to say goodbye at the end of the show, but if you'd like to leave now, we understand. Stefanie Fick, Advocate Stefanie Fick. It's been a while since we've spoken about the different projects on OUTA's legal desk. What are the legal cases on the team's desk at the moment?
Well, I think, Tom, let's just be fair to our supporters and just give a short feedback on e-tolls. Now, we all, are waiting for the Minister Mbulula, to give us some feedback on what is actually going to happen to tolls.
Yeah,
now,
how long have we been waiting? He did say he would tell us in 2 months, about 2 years ago, wasn't it? I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. There's, so we really, hopefully this time he will give us some feedback with regards to e-tolls, because we've been waiting for a long time. But just except for the fact that we are waiting for this announcement, and quite honestly, and I think we are in good company if we're talking to people in this forum, is that we all know that the scheme has failed. Yeah. I mean, it's literally just to be an official announcement that e-tolls has failed. But at the background, we must all remember that OUTA has said that, as long as we have funds to do so, we will defend anybody that is summoned to appear in court for e-toll debt. Now, a lot of people were summoned, and we also started our collateral challenge. In other words, we got a few of the bigger summonses, more of the transport companies that were summoned. You're talking about millions. And we started a collateral challenge. But all of this were halted when the SANRAL board in March of 2019 said, listen, we will not go after e-toll debt while government is making this decision. So just a quick feedback for everybody is that all those summonses are still hanging in the air, because we had this agreement that the process will stop while government is making the decision. And I think we still get, just keep in mind that, SANRAL is a business, and they're spending an enormous amount of money on transaction fees for ETC and VLC and all of that. So they do still send out letter of demands. And what that says, under normal circumstances, and here I have a guest, what they normally say is, if you don't pay your e-toll bill now, we're going to send you a summons. Now, we haven't seen any summonses, and there shouldn't be any summonses. So it is their really last attempt of getting more money. So just be aware, and maybe if you have a family member that is going through that, I think they're using a tactic because, the minute you get a letter of demand, people are going to sue
Scare
you.
tactics,
People get
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally they will just pay. But keep this in mind. But in terms of our cases that's in court, they are all standing still. But obviously we'll keep an eye on it. And once we hear, what the decision is, although I think we do know what it is, all these cases will be dealt with. They'll probably be removed from the roll or be withdrawn, and we'll take it from there. But we're all holding thumbs that we're not holding thumbs for government to say that ETOLS is filed. I think we're holding thumbs that they finally give us that.
Yes, that it happens soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
that's the ETOLS case. There's case number 1. What's next on the roll?
So maybe we should then move to OUTA. Now, I think if you are a motorist and you're a motorist in Joburg and Tshwane, you will know what OUTA is. It is that piece of legislation that is giving people nightmares. And, realizing that it is giving people nightmares, we looked at it. And when the OUTA Act was then amended, we thought that, maybe we should really concentrate on what they are trying to do and are saying here. And then we realized that there's really something fundamentally wrong with these pieces of legislation. So we instituted an action, and the High Court actually agreed with us. OUTA and the OUTA Amendment Act is unconstitutional. And for those, I'm going to try, because I don't, it is a lengthy name for a piece of legislation, but it's the Administrative Adjudication of Traffic Offences.
Got it.
So it is not the legislation that is trying to create more offences or something like that. That's why we have the National Road Traffic Act. But OUTA was trying to take the adjudication of traffic offences out of courts and making it an administrative process. But I think a lot of people will agree that there's a lot of problems. We had, RTIA came out and said that they do not have funds anymore to give people, to send registered letters and informing people that there's actually infringement notices against their name. Infringement notices is just a fancy name for you got a ticket for a traffic fine. Now, without going into too much detail with regards to the Act, we then went to court, and the court agreed that both the OUTA and the Amendment Act, so it's the original OUTA Act that was then amended by the legislature, is unconstitutional. Now, for that to stand, we needed to go to the Constitutional Court. So we received our date in the Constitutional Court. So on the 15th of November, our counsel, which is Emma Webber and Advocate Matthew Taskelson, will then argue our case in front of the Constitutional Court. And I think we're quite, we're still confident that we will convince the Constitutional Court that they should actually, agree with the High Court and agree with us.
What happens if the Constitutional Court agrees with OUTA and the High Court's decision? What happens after that?
Then OUTA is no longer in existence. And it doesn't mean that, there will not be fines, or that you can now drive reckless, or that you can speed, or that you can park wherever you want. It just means that the way that traffic fines are, dealt with. So the crimes are still there. It is just the way that we enforce it that will change. OUTA is administrative versus the criminal procedure, which means that if OUTA is removed, the traffic officer can still give you a ticket. The only, what it just means is that you will still have the opportunity to pay for it. And if you disagree, you can go to a court of law. But OUTA is way more administrative. And the first time that you will ever see a court of law is when you went through a very elaborative administrative process.
Okay.
So again, I just want to reiterate, it doesn't mean that there's going to be lawlessness. We do not advocate for lawlessness on our roads. In fact, I think each and every one of us will go to extra lengths in order to curb road deaths on our roads. OUTA, however, will not accomplish that. So that's why we are confident, and that's why we decided to tackle this issue, because OUTA is unconstitutional. And just in a nutshell, we've been on the show trying to explain it, but it is about, in our constitution say national, province, and local government all are different spheres of government, and the one can't tell the other one what to do. And we believe that OUTA is national legislation trying to tell local government what to do and how to enforce, for example, parking laws. So it is no longer local government, have the ability to regulate their own traffic laws, and we're talking about minor offences like parking, but they are now sort of looking towards national, and that cannot happen. Our constitution was not built to do that.
You've got Advocate Stefanie Fick on your screen tonight, giving you updates on the cases on the OUTA legal team's desk. We've just run through the e-tolls case as well as the R2 case. 14th of November is when it goes to the Constitutional Court. If you've got questions or comments for Stefanie, pop them in the comment section down below this video. I'll pass them on to her. All right, so we got number 1, e-tolls. Number 2, R2. What's number 3? How many more do we have?
There's. I think we should just give some feedback on the concessionaire, and then we have car powerships, and then maybe just quickly refer to the fact that we declared Dudu Mnyeni a delinquent director, but we are still busy with that case in the sense that we are going after our tax bill of costs. But more about that in future. But that is still, just to inform everybody, you know what, we are OUTA, we are tenacious, and we will not let this go.
All right, let's look at concessionaires, Stefanie. I mean, that's one that's easy. It easily falls, just it stays below the radar because e-tolls and R2 are so big and so sexy when it comes to fights. But in the meantime, you've got these toll roads, I think 2 of them, and I'm not sure how many you're focusing on here, but three in total, where guys just there seems to be no accountability. Where every time you go through a toll gate and go down to Durban, where does that money go, and how does it get spent? And we don't know.
Exactly, Tom, and that's why we started on this journey. So, although the court case is about access to information, obviously, we've requested some information. We requested some of the public-private, that contacts between the concessionaires and Sunroll, and they refused, and we had to take this to court, and this is what we're busy with, is that I think people should realize how important this is. So what is concessions? And we are not necessarily against the concessionaires agreement, because I think this is a accepted type of agreement. But why we are interested is the profit projections for the remaining years on these concession contracts. Now, basically, Sunroll contracted with the 3, so it is Bakwena. Now, people living in Pretoria will know about Bakwena, and then we have N3TC, which is the N3 concession. And that's that toll road that you use when you go to Durban. And then you have track, which is the N4.
So if you want to go north, east, or south of Johannesburg on a highway, you're using a concessionaire toll road or run toll road.
Yes. Yes, and I just paid. I went from Pretoria from my mom to my home in Joburg, and it's 16 Rand 50. Now, if you just multiply that by the amount of cars that's going through that concession, you can imagine the amount of money they make. Now, we're not against business making money. It is about business making money to the detriment of us as motorists. So Sunrail has received a fixed amount from these tolls collected each year, whilst the toll tariffs have increased by approximately 80% in the last 10 years. So we think that the concessionaires may be benefiting from excessive profit.
But you want
so
to know. You want to see the books.
Yes, and the question remains: if you have nothing to hide, if this public-private contract is reasonable and you're only getting reasonable profit, then why not show us?
What have you got to hide? Yeah.
What have you got to hide? So why can't we see it? And, although you are a private organization, private company, you are doing business with government. And the minute you are doing business with government, that's our business.
That's right.
Government can't get away with being transparent because they decide to do business with the private sector. That is not what transparency is about. And unfortunately, because of the history, state capture, what we see with PPE corruption, we've heard, what happened in KwaZulu-Natal with the flood relief funds. It's normally, the fiscus should be managed to the best of our in our best interest. And whether government then decides to do business with itself or other government organizations or with the private sector, it should be transparent. Then car power ships.
Yeah, I want to know, have they sailed those car power ships out of our harbors yet? Or the last time we spoke about car power ship was when the president announced this new energy plan and proposed, reducing the hurdles for power producers to get into business fast. And one of the comments that I made at the time, and I know some of our viewers were worried about, was that would give the loophole or the entry point for car power ships to start producing and get past some of these regulations that they haven't been able to bypass up to now. What's the latest?
So the latest is that we are still struggling to get the full record. We were supposed to go to case management just because the parties are not necessarily in agreement. That fell apart a bit because the attorneys for car power ship and NERSA all sent some correspondence a bit late. But I think what I wanted to, give feedback on behalf of the team is that we've heard that car power ship needed environmental authorizations in order to come park there in our harbors. And they were unsuccessful. And the appeal was also unsuccessful. And I can share this, that our council is saying that the judgment in that appeal is actually very good, and that the chances of them overturning that, taking that on appeal or review or whatever they decide to do, is very slim that they will be successful. Now, where it started, and again, I want to reiterate this, is that car power ships or the department, under the guise of this emergency procurement of energy, decided to enter or wanted to enter into a 20-year contract. I mean, that's not emergency procurement, but be that as it may. Our car power ship case is about reviewing NERSA's decision to give car power ship distribution licenses. We are just saying, and I think this is also a principal case, is that NERSA, when it made that decision, should have taken into account that car power ship did not have environmental authorizations, and they did not take into account what that contract over 20 years is going to cost South Africa, that the cost of gas, etc., was definitely not in our best interest. And that NERSA, as the regulator, remember, NERSA sits there and decides who gets licenses and who not, fulfilling a very important position or tasks, again, on our behalf, did not take into consideration very serious considerations. And may I just add that this is not the first time. We had a conversation with some activists from Brasilia, and guess what? They did this a similar thing in Brazil.
Oh, they know they know the car power ships over in Brazil. And what happened there, Stefanie?
Well, they're still busy fighting.
Okay.
I think we are in a better position in the sense that although, I don't think any our judicial system is totally uncorrupt. There's probably some corrupt individuals, but our democracy and our constitutional democracy is quite strong. And the fact that they didn't get away with, asking for exemption for this, for the environmental authorization, that they were unsuccessful. Unfortunately, in Brazil, what they were telling us is that their judicial system is corrupt.
Let them down.
And that they have a federal judge that, unfortunately, is just, pushing this forward. In other words, delaying this whole process. But they're not losing hope. I think what we're going to do in future is to take a little, to take hands, to say that, again, we're not against private companies trying to assist, but it depends on whether the agreement or the contract that government wants to enter to is in the best interest of not individuals or corrupt individuals, but the citizens of that country.
And it can't be a crazy deal. I mean, with question marks all over those deals. So, are you confident that you've stopped car power ships in their tracks?
Yeah, and I think it is, we have to say that although OUTA started on this journey, there are so many other organizations. I mean, Green Connection is also with us in that case, but they and some other environmental organizations keep their eyes on, environmental transgressions, making sure that these type of things do not happen. For example, there was that win with Shell. So I think I think we can still hold on to is that our judicial system, although not perfect, we still have a pretty good judicial system. Our civil activism is out there. I think civil activist organizations realize that, government needs assistance and that we need to be vocal in order to make sure that things happen in the right way. And we have a very active, and our civil activists are alive. So that is all things that is counting in our favor in South Africa. And, I really do think that government needs a lot of help, but that as civil activist organizations, as our supporters, we are willing to assist. And sometimes that willingness to assist is by going to court and making sure that certain decisions are overturned. But, for example, Liz McDade, who is an absolute environmental warrior, is one of those examples that, just go after the cases that and stop organizations that is going to do harm, not only to our environment, but also to our country. And then I must say, we tonight we have another activist. Furiel is one of those activists that has been active in the space for a very long time, and we need more people like that. And that's why it is so rewarding for me to be part of this team. And our supporters, that is also activists in each and every one in their own way. And that's why we have CAN as OUTA to also try and get people in the local government space active and realizing that take the power. We're not going to fix this country if we sit back and complain and criticize. We need to get our hands dirty, get in there and try and create a better South Africa for all.
Strength in numbers. We'll wrap up in the minutes we got left with the latest on the Durumiyeni case. Does she still owe OUTA's illegal guys money? I know the last time she paid it was in 50 Rand notes in a Checkers packet or something. What's the latest?
Yeah, so we are brainstorming in and I'm not I'm not going to give all the detail. There must be some type of mystery. Hopefully misery for her, but some mystery with regards to our tax bill of cost. All I can say is that our attorney is working very hard. We're working behind the scenes because the principle is, when we started on this journey, and we did something that SAA government was supposed to do. If you have a director, a chairperson of an SOE, it should actually be that board that should hold to account members that is delinquent. But because of where we were at that point, it was then up to civil society to take some steps. But unfortunately, going to court is expensive. And we were willing to pay for it, and thank goodness for loyal supporters. Otherwise, we would not be able to do it.
Let's talk about supporters.
Director.
Yes.
Sorry.
Continue. I know you're right there, or you were saying now you've got.
Now we've got a delinquent director, and that was
okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the loyal supporters of OUTA and ask you about these cases that you've mentioned and how they benefit supporters of OUTA, and not just supporters, but the public at large.
I do, because if we want to litigate, we basically litigate in the public interest. Otherwise, we will not be able to litigate. So we can't litigate on behalf of you, Tom, or Jeanette, or Leonard, or I'm just looking at names here on Facebook, Claire, and so forth. But we can litigate in the public interest on behalf of everybody. So if we initiate litigation, it has to be in the public interest. So, for example, let's just quickly go back to car powership. Except for the environmental side, which I think is, we can all understand that having those ships in the harbour is detrimental to our environment, and we need our environment. Farrell was talking about water, climate change, and all of that. It is. It's going to be detrimental to.
And I think we lost. Unfortunately, the technical problems have resurfaced. So we lost Stefanie Fick right at the end there. See if we can get her back quickly. End off with a proper goodbye, but it may be that we don't get to do that. So I think we are going to leave it there for tonight. It's unfortunate because Stefanie was about to make a point, but it has been a night of gremlins, I got to tell you. We've had device after device fail for no particular reason, and now right at the end of the show, a similar thing happening, and just difficult to try and stop the cascade of technical problems tonight. Anyway, I think that's where we'll say goodnight. We are bumping up against the hour. Look forward to joining us again next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m., where we will get some of the we'll get all of the technical problems ironed out, and we'll have a smooth show. So come and join us next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another live OUTA Hour. Until then, I wish you a good week. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful 7 days, that you're in good health, in fine form, you make some money, you're good to people, people are good to you. Most of all, I hope you join us for another date next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Don't be late. I'm Tom London, and I'm
Our fight to eradicate corruption, maladministration, unethical leaders, and the abuse of taxpayers' money by those in power continues. It's fresh, it's fearless, and focused. The OUTA Hour, where your voice matters.